It's actually a very good way to begin this class. Once you let go of everything, who are you? What's in there? What is it? So here's what I know. I know that there is a divine power, a creative life force that is the center of all things. I know that this energy, this power, is the very center of my being. I am the very center of it. It is the very center of me. There is no place where I begin and it ends, or where it begins and I end. It is all one beautiful, harmonic inclusion of the allness. And I know that for myself, and I know that for each and every one of us. What that looks like, what that feels like, what that does is my use of it. And I know that tonight we use our minds, we use our conscious minds to, in fact, know what we know, hear what we hear, and allow what we allow. I know that this night is filled with ahas and questions and answers, and I know that each one of us is here on purpose, as purpose, knowing that the purpose lives us. And so I just say thank you, and I step out of the way, releasing everything that needs to be released, and just being willing to receive. Knowing this is so, I just let it be so. As together we all say, and so it is. Okay, so let me just check. Do you have that list now? I need it. Okay, so who do I have? I have Terry, I have Ray, I have Joseph, I have blank pieces of square. So I've got Laurie. Who else do I have on there? You have them.
I have
Brooks.
Joseph, Laurie, Mariana, Myrna, Ray, and Terry.
Okay, great. And then, of course, all of you in the room. And then there are a number of people that are taking this class who can't be here but still are taking this class. So that's why we wanted to step you back of this microphone so that they really could hear you when they watch it tomorrow or whenever they're watching it. So, I got to that. Something I wanted to start off with tonight was the understanding that this book is a very interesting book, and it can be dense. Anybody find that from reading the first chapter? The second chapter is worse. So, since that's what I'm presenting tonight. But here's the thing. Don't give up on it. Don't feel like you don't get it. Because, yeah, if you read it a few times, which is why luckily the chapters are short, you're going to find the basis of our entire teaching in this book. And I am going to distill it down to its simplest form for all of us, including myself. There was a moment today when I was reading over the chapter that literally I was like, what? What did I just read? And I read it again, and I was like, oh my God, what did I just... And I even had it underlined with notes. I was like, clearly I understood this at one point. And so it really made me step back, and I think it happened for a very good reason, which was so I could to give you all the opportunity to know that, okay, there's a lot of dense stuff here, but there's a lot of great stuff here too. Because once I ate, I realized it was really that I was hungry. Once I ate, I was fine, and then I understood it. So the first thing I want to do tonight is go over the homework. So if you can grab your answers to the questions, you two don't have them, but you'll hear their brilliant answers. And I'm sure they will be brilliant. Everybody have a copy of their homework? Or their answers anyway? Good, okay. So the first question was, what was wanting in the creative process? So Gary, what did you write?
I wrote an introduction of the personal factor.
Right, everybody got that? An introduction of the personal factor. So Sean, what is the personal factor?
So the personal factors he calls the intelligent perception of the possibilities contained in the law of nature. And he uses aviation as an example. Use electricity as another one.
Right.
A principle that always existed but was previously undiscovered.
Okay.
And by introducing the personal factor, you can discover and employ those principles previously unknown.
So when a personal factor comes in, everything changes. Everything shifts. When man really realized it could fly, he or she could fly, everything changed. Transportation changed. Communication changed. Everything just changes when the personal factor comes in. And another name for the personal factor is evolution. Because it just continues to, I mean, who knows what we have in store for us as we continue along the path of this life form constantly evolving. Okay, so the second question, what secret are we in search of? Corrine, what secret are we in search of?
Getting more out of life in a continually progressive degree.
That's it. So why is it important to, why is the most important part of that sentence in a continually progressive degree, do you think?
We're constantly moving forward and understanding more.
Do you think it's possible for us to get more out of life, and it's possible for us to stop getting more out of life? No? I love your face. You're like, I'm saying no. Is no the answer?
No, I'm very serious.
You couldn't. Do you think it's possible for anyone on this planet to get to not progressively grow in getting more out of life?
Oh, sure. I
So
thought
what
you
would-
meant that you just couldn't. You just stop at some point. You've had enough and you just don't move anymore.
Is that possible for someone to do?
Sure.
Would it change the truth of what life is continually doing? No, it wouldn't. So getting more out of life in a continually progressive degree. Troward believed, there's my lazy R, for all of you to see in its perfect form. I used to have a lazy R as a child. Every R was like that. It was like, Troward. It's really sad. I don't have it anymore, apparently only in moments. So Troward believes that our only purpose in life, what do you think he believes our only purpose in life is? Don't answer it, those who have taken this class. What do you think, Liza, what do you think Troward would believe is our only purpose in life? No. But that's a good guess, given that last sentence. What do you think? What else? Who else? Yeah.
To enjoy life.
That's it. Troward believes that our only purpose in life is to enjoy life. We have no other purpose in life. And that if we actually lived our purpose, we'd make very different decisions. What do you think? Make sense? I think so too. And we're going to get to that. So question number 3, what law can we never get away from? Joseph, what law can we never get away from? You got it. Did you unmute, Joseph? There you go. What law can we never get away from?
The law of cause and effect.
Right, and why is that, do you think?
Because every effect I've lost my train of thought on that part, sorry.
I think you were going to say every cause must have an effect. I mean, it is the law of life. I mean, you can't cause something without something happening. I can't push this and have nothing happen. Watch, I'm going to push this. Something happened. I can't push this and it not respond to me. And that goes. It's just as important when we think about our thought. Yes? Okay. Everybody had that, right? I'm assuming, since this was an open book test. Yeah, you're supposed to just look up the answers. Okay, number 4. What is the first principle of the creative? What is the first principle of the creative principle? Yes.
Harmony.
You're like, I know this one. I need a right answer. Yes, it is harmony. That's correct. Harmony. but why is that important, David, Alan Cruz? Why is it important that harmony is the first principle of the creative principle? I'm trying to make it more exciting for y'all.
Harmony immensely.
Yes, well, now,
Well, again, as you said earlier, Troward has said that life is about enjoying life. That's
Right.
the main purpose of life. In order to do that, harmony is an essential aspect. The idea of having that sense of ease and flow as we experience life doesn't necessarily mean that we don't have challenges throughout the life. The challenge can be part of the harmony.
right?
When we experience the challenge, we know that we can overcome the challenge, we meet the challenge, we move forward, and we grow with a greater harmony because we can understand it.
All that is true, but that's about the individual. I'm talking about the creative principle. Why is harmony the first and most important principle?
The universe is an intelligent organism.
Mhm.
It flows, it ebbs, it grows, it expands. It's always creating itself, and it's always following that sense of balance. The universe is a balanced entity.
That's the answer. And what's more important is, if that's what the universe is, that's what you are. That's what I am. That's where healing comes from. The fact that we trust that our bodies know what to do because it's in harmony at all times. The only time it gets out of harmony is when we start screwing around with it. Okay, next one. What are we seeking to discover? Eric, what are we seeking to discover? Eric, I'm sorry. Eric's like, he didn't look at me. I'll call you Eric. He's Bork. Mr. Bork, sorry. Go ahead, sorry. So the question is, what are we seeking to discover?
We are seeking to discover the arrangements of things, set it into motion, a train of causation that will harmonize our conditions without antagonizing the powers of others.
That was a very good answer. You're very Trewardian in your answer. Trewardian. Yes, that was good. So tell me what you mean. So what do you mean? Tell me what you mean, so I know what you know. If I know that you understand what you just said.
Well, in the whole thing about I guess it's about the sequence. It's about I don't know if I can. I mean, I think I fundamentally get it.
Get it? Right. Explaining it's a little more challenging. Right. Okay. Karen, do you know? I love the way you looked at me just then. You were like, what? Really?
Just repeat what the question was.
Yeah. What does it mean? The question is, what are we seeking to discover?
Yeah.
What did you write?
I said how to arrange things harmoniously.
What does that mean to you? Individually, what does that mean to you?
Just trying to find the way to integrate what we're creating into what exists.
I'm going to make it really easy. Yeah, Jan?
I put my interpretation that says creatively place thoughts or things into better alignment that will bring forth desired results without infringing on others' alignment.
That's it. So what I'm really looking for is, your answer was right. Your answer is right. So how to arrange things, this is what he said, how to arrange things in an order, he didn't say this to me, how to arrange things in an order that will produce what we want. So really, what we're looking for, what we're seeking to discover is how to use our minds in such a way that I create an orderly understanding and thinking process. I create an order within my beliefs. I get rid of any beliefs that don't serve me. And I have beliefs that therefore create me to think what I think in an orderly fashion. And then I expect what I expect. I feel what I feel. And I create what I create. And the order of it is very important. Because let's just say I want more prosperity. And I'm thinking, I know who I am. I am God. God is the prosperity of the universe. Here's a bad way to put the order together. I know God is all there is. I know that I am God. As God, I am the fullness of the universe. I am all prosperity. But in fact, the economy is really bad right now. So I probably won't be able to get the job of my dreams. And yet, I know I am God. but for some reason, there seems to be a glitch. So those orderly thoughts that I just had are not going to bring me what I want. They're going to keep taking me over here, and then I got to bring it back. So that's what Troad's talking about. He's actually talking about we all are discovering a way to use our minds in order to keep a forward momentum on what we want out of life. Make sense? Yes.
I was just going to say the word that comes up in my mind is conflict. Eliminating conflict, which causes the antagonizing situation, which is anti-harmony. And
Yes.
you don't have forward progress if you don't have harmony. So if you have conflict, you don't have harmony. So to me, the big word is conflict.
Right. And so a conflicting thought to I am the prosperity of the universe would be the economy is really bad, so I really have to pay attention to that. That would conflict with me saying God is full prosperity only. So yeah, conflicting is great. Okay, everybody clear on that? Yes? Okay. This one. Why does matter exist? Who wants to take that? Why does matter exist? Sean, did you raise your hand? Laurie? Oh, you did? Great. Laurie's like, no, you do it.
Well, because if it did not exist, there wouldn't be, everything would be in chaos. I mean,
Okay.
it would be, nothing would be identifiable. There has to be like a progressive pattern of some sort, call it that needs to be established in order to not live in chaos.
That is the answer. I'm not sure what I think of the answer or the question. In order to produce identity. It was interesting. I was at the gym today and I decided to just, I'm always listening to Pandora. And today I decided I wanted to listen to TED Talks. And I was like, I can listen to a TED Talk. So I didn't really know a TED Talk to listen to. So I just went on TED Talks and I pushed one. And it was this guy giving this English guy giving this brilliant scientific talk on the fact that we don't have any of the answers. And he went on and on about this stuff. And as I'm listening to it, I'm getting nervous. I'm like, oh, he's making me question everything now, everything. Oh, wait a minute, I should maybe. And I'm like, nope, let's see it through. And this particular question, this whole thing of, why does matter exist? The very thought that we know why matter exists, well, how do we know why matter exists? Do we? Do we really know why matter exists? Why it exists? I get what Troward says. In order to produce identity, and I can understand that, and I can follow that line of thought. Matter exists so that I can see and I can understand that what I have the mental equivalent of shows up out here. I get it. I get that. But is that really why it exists, to prove to me that this principle works? David?
I heard several years ago an interview with a physicist who argued quite effectively that there is no, and we've heard this before, there is no out there. That in fact the universe is a hologram. And the interviewer said, well, what about each individual? He said, well, effectively that's the same. So well, why do we feel? He said, if you created a hologram and gave that hologram intelligence, artificial intelligence, you asked that hologram, are you real? The hologram would say, I am real. We experience matter because we believe we know in ourselves that we are real. Therefore, that which we create, God creates matter, not as matter itself, but as a concept of itself, as it recreates, as constantly creating. It's all imagery. It's all, according to this astrophysicist,
Right.
this physicist, it's all projection,
Right.
of the creative mind.
So that's kind of where this guy got to by the end, by the way, and he went into that whole theme, that whole realm of, does it really exist? Do things really exist just because we think they exist? If someone's standing behind me,
So
do they really affect me whatsoever? And the answer is, and his answer was, he was like, yeah, we can feel someone stare even when we're not perceiving it. So it was a very interesting, it kept going around in circles too, and I had to move on to my chest workout, so I went to a different thing. But you just said, God created, and even that, which is we're going to get into tonight, how do we know that?
Right.
There's so much that we take on because it's what they've said is the way it works, or we're taking it based on ideology that perhaps if we were willing to question it, we might get a different answer today than when we had 100 years ago when it was decided that this is how it happened. Like the Big Bang, whenever that came into existence, which was not that long ago. If questioned today, would that still hold up? Yeah.
I understood what Trower said in the response, that without it, things would be perpetually flowing into each other. My response to that was, so what? My response to it was the question itself is irrelevant. The next question is far more relevant.
Yeah, right. And I also think that, I don't believe everything we go crashing into one another just because, Anyway, question 7, what is the essence of matter, Laurie?
Mind or as the substance that we have imagined.
Substance, right. Number 8, how is it that individual minds project the same image of matter? How is it that individual minds project the same image of matter? Dana?
I didn't think you were going to ask me that question.
This one's an easy answer, though. What did you write?
I just pulled it out of the book because I had a
Well, that was your job.
I had a really hard time with this.
So what was the answer? How is it that individual minds project the same image of matter?
A cosmic mind imposes the same image on individual minds.
Yeah.
Because we're all part of that one mind.
I wouldn't use the word imposes, but is that his quote, imposes? He did? Yeah, I wouldn't use that word, imposes. But okay. But the real answer, the only answer really is because there's only one cosmic mind, because it's all part of the same mind. That's why individual minds can project the same image, because it's really, I'm just using the same mind you're using. We're all in this one mind. We're as this one mind. Okay, 9. What is necessary for a cosmos to exist? What is necessary for a cosmos to exist? Terry, do you want to answer that?
Okay, you want me to, thank you.
What did you write as the answer?
I don't have I have my answers upstairs. I didn't bring them down.
Are the answers there?
No, I don't remember.
You have his homework? Did you turn it into Connie?
No.
Oh, well then forget it. Okay, Laurie Savage. What is necessary for a cosmos to exist?
There has to be a cosmic mind or an oversoul which connects us all and gives us universal agreement. So we all have a basic starting point.
Right. So a cosmic mind, did you all have that similar answer? A cosmic mind harmonizing the allness of the universe. But I'm going to just ask this. What proof do we have that there is a cosmic mind harmonizing the allness of the universe? What's the proof? No. I don't believe I'm proof that there's a cosmic mind that harmonizes the whole universe. What's the proof? What proof do we have?
Gravity.
David, hold on. Oh, Terry. Terry, you gotta mute yourself.
Gravity? Oh.
Gravity. Okay. What else, David?
That there are laws of physics, there are laws of order. The function of the universe is to flow in an organism, in an orgasmic matter. They look at a galaxy, and it is a flowing spiral, and that same geometric shape is found throughout nature, found throughout the universe. It's order, it's process, it makes sense. You look at a human being and you see balance and order, process, and it makes sense. Doesn't mean that there are no aberrations.
Okay, so you're saying what we could all say, which is because I look around and nothing's crashing into one another. I can see that. But is that evidence there is a cosmic mind that's at the back of it all? Because really what they're saying here is there's God is back of it all. It's a nice way to say it without saying the word God, but that's what they mean. Troward's coming from a Christian background, and he's basically finding a scientific, he thinks, way to say it. Is that proof? Is it proof that there is something
Proof,
back
no,
of it all?
Yes. Proof, no.
But some
The
evidence.
yes.
Okay. So why is this important for us to discuss it this way? It is. It's about faith. It's about how much of what we're saying do you believe, and if you don't believe it, you can't really use it.
It's the premise that everything else is built on.
Exactly.
So you've got to buy into this if everything else makes sense.
But are we buying into it, or do we actually know it?
That's it.
Doug, what do you think? You're a lawyer. Am I buying into this? Is there proof? Is there enough proof?
Visual, I guess.
Is there enough proof to like convict this thing?
Craig, when we need it.
That's right. Craig would be quite active. Is Craig online? He couldn't get in?
He was having trouble getting on the hotel internet.
Oh, okay. What do you think?
I think that I agree with what David said. I think that we live in a universe that has order to it, that I see an evolutionary process
Mhm.
go on. I think we're talking about conscious evolution here, and that all presupposes an order to it and a progression to it.
Okay, that makes
So
sense. Mr. Bork?
Well, I mean, I think he uses a lot of this kind of language. It is absolutely necessary that blah blah blah, and I'm kind of like, I don't know why it has to be so, because I don't often go with him.
Yeah.
I've read ahead in chapter 2.
Oh, you did. Did you get a headache?
Yeah. No, but a lot of times he'll say, well, because of this, it's obvious and necessary that this.
But because of this, not really a because of this. I have things in my book that say, really?
Yeah. So this was one of those for me, like, it's like he wants to make us say, oh yeah, that's 100% for sure a provable thing, and I agree. It's not provable, it's evidence.
So,
It's a judge.
huh? He was a judge. I know. Because of this, and this. I know. But, so what can we rely on? What can we, yes?
Maybe like our own demonstration of what we believe and what's showing up, the way that we prove it to ourselves more.
We prove it to ourselves. Yes. You got really close to where I'm going. That's very close. Yeah.
This is what I think you say quite often, and which I've really found is true for me, the concept of spiritual logic.
Right?
This is where we start looking at the evidence,
Mhm.
and as you say, feel the truth of it. This just makes sense.
Oh, that you just hit it. That's the answer I'm looking for. Spiritual logic would really, if I trust myself, spiritual logic would have me feel. Do I feel this? Do I intuitively know this? Is this something that makes sense to me on a deeper level? That there is something that is at the center of me that guides everything that I'm all about? Is there an intuitive knower that I am? Am I am I this thing called life? Am I this thing called evolution? Am I it? And for me, more and more and more, that trumps all of my reallys in my book, because I get it. I just get annoyed when I hear it said in such a scientific fashion. Let's just call it what it is. It's faith. There is a faith that belies the science. And even one of the things this guy said today was he said, you know, science, we've started to think that science is the answer. If it's scientific, that's the truth. Science has so many different variables and that they change up every day, which is just hysterical when you really look at it. You know, this is the absolute truth until next month, when that's not the case anymore. It's this. So it's just as shifting as anything else. So do you have the inner faith, the inward faith, to actually feel and know who you are, regardless of the maybe logical things that actually may tell you something different? That's why you're in this class, as opposed to in a quantum physics class trying to figure out quantum physics, which I don't know that they ever will, because by the time they figure it out, it will have changed.
For me, I've been thinking a lot. It's like we talk about your beliefs, form your thoughts, and for me, it's going back to this difference between my beliefs with a little b, and then there's a greater capital B belief, and I guess that I tie to hey, you know, and there's that part sometimes where I can question, what are my beliefs?
Mm-hmm.
But there's like an intuitive gut knowing that my faith and my big belief, it all makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I start wrestling with that.
Well, there are my beliefs, and then there are my core beliefs, the ones that are immovable, that are like just like entrenched. Okay, let me go to the last question here. What do spirit and matter together constitute? What do spirit and matter together constitute? Myrna?
I'm unmuting. Hang on.
You're unmuted.
I am. Sorry. What was the question?
The last question, number 10, what did you write? What do spirit and matter together constitute?
A harmonious whole.
A what?
A harmonious whole.
A harmonious whole.
Yes.
With a W, obviously.
Yeah.
Okay.
H-O-L-E. That's my pronunciation. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. How are you going to put the W in front of it, really? A harmonious whole. Does everybody have that as the answer?
Yes.
Yes? Then I have the wrong answer here. Because for me,
No.
I answered mine, but I wasn't looking up the answers. What do spirit and matter constitute? For me, it's the creative process, which is the harmonious whole, I suppose, but the creative process, because with spirit and matter, then that's the creative process from spirit, and that's actually right where we're going into in the next chapter. So any questions about all those answers, everything that you looked up? Yes, Gary.
On number 7, what is the essence of matter? I read the chapter several times, and the word plastic substance bothered me.
The answer is substance. It's not plastic substance, but it would be substance. But does substance bother you?
No.
Yeah, it's substance. He uses plastic, as did Ernest Holmes. Plastic must have been new back then, because they all started using it, and it's like they were so thrilled with this thing called plastic that it morphed into anything you whatever heat it just turned into any form you wanted to make it. So they started to use plastic instead of saying substance. It's this plasticity. So when you read, yeah.
Reverend James?
Yes.
Wouldn't that also be the idea that that whatever thoughts we create, it's like the plastic substance that creates on this plane?
Yes, my thought acts as the heat that takes the plasticity, the plastic substance, and turns it into whatever I decide to turn it into. I can turn it into an elephant. I can turn it into a shoe. Whatever I want to make it. Yeah. Any other questions about all these questions? No? Okay, so it's going to be a fun chapter for me to talk you through, because the chapter is called The Self-Contemplation of Spirit. And Troward has attempted in this chapter to give his own variation on the Big Bang Theory, or actually even what came before the Big Bang Theory. So the story, as he tells it, is that somewhere in time, I feel like a Scientologist at this particular moment, somewhere in time, on a planet, sent all of its people. Most of you don't even know what Scientology bases itself on, and I'm not going to go there. So, yes, and let's leave it that way. I did my thesis on that, just so that when people said, "Are you Scientology?" I could say no, and here's why. So, at some point in time and all eternity, this substance called spirit discovered itself and became conscious of itself. And as this substance, as this spirit, as this allness became conscious of itself, it started to create. And from the creation came everything, the rocks, the plants, the trees, mankind, everything out of itself. And if you look at my book, there's one point during this chapter I went, is this just the Adam and Eve story told a different way? Come on. But that's kind of what it feels like. But this time when I really went through the chapter, I got a better sense of it. I got a better sense of this. I mean, whenever I hear spirit became aware of itself and created, what does that sound like to you? Does that sound doable? Are you buying into that?
Very, very.
Well, isn't he just describing his take on evolution?
Yes. And the creative process. How it works, yeah. But he's really asking us to buy into this concept that the self-contemplation of spirit is how this all came about. And here's the other big part of this. The self-contemplation of spirit, which is the creative process, is us too. This is what we do. I buy it in me. I get the self-contemplation of spirit as James Mellon. I just don't know if I think that answers the Big Bang question. I don't know if that answers how this all came about. Liza?
What was confusing in this chapter was that he didn't actually explain, at least I didn't get how, he said in order for something to contemplate itself, it needs to contemplate against something else. But
Yes.
if there's a creator, and it's not dualistic, then what is the creator contemplating against?
Well, that's-
I'm trying to wrap my mind around that.
Well, that's why I'm saying some of it works. All of this works for me individually. But, okay, so we're back to the paradigm of God. I mean, think about it. We're already this conversation has become dualistic in nature, but I get it for me. I just don't get it as God. The whole thing happened that way. And so, as I go through this, I'll keep questioning. But what I would ask you to do tonight is question. Really question. Because I honestly think there's an answer to a lot of this. And I don't think it's been found yet. I don't think it's been really experienced or explained. It certainly hasn't been explained for me in a way yet. But questioning is the only thing we have to get to the answers. So just really pay attention. Don't buy it just because it's in this book. Not that I feel like any of you are like that. But don't buy it just because we're saying it. And like Eric said, don't, Mr. Bork rather, not Eric. As he said, this didactic thing of because of this, and this. Well, if I don't believe the because of this, or if I don't have real absolute proof that it's because of this, how do I logically take it further? And yet, I see it in me. I get it in me. I see it in you. I get it. Can I back it up and understand that that's therefore how it all, and do I even care when it happened? Yeah.
But what if there is no when? In other words, we're looking at things through a linear time frame.
Right.
20th century physics proved there's time is relative. It's not linear. So this is the same thing with the Big Bang theory. It's like, well, the Big Bang was the creation of things. Well, what preceded the Big Bang? There were conditions.
Which is my question.
Preceded the Big Bang that created the Big Bang. And there was a condition that preceded the Big Bang, and so forth. It's like looking at yourself through two mirrors. It just keeps going back.
Yeah.
In eternity. And that's where the concept of eternity, for me, is very helpful.
Yes.
In that it is not related to time. So what preceded spirit? Nothing preceded spirit. It was always there. Intelligence is always there. The form may change. There could be a Big Bang. There could be something before the Big Bang. But it doesn't matter because intelligence is always present, always was present, always will be present.
And continuously.
It's changing. It's continually changing. It's growing. It's not bound by time or space. It's just constantly expanding.
So now I'm back in the Baltimore Catechism.
Yes.
God is all there is, all there ever was, and all there ever will be.
Never created.
Never created, and created everything out of itself.
Which is the same definition of energy.
Uh-huh. Which is where I'm getting to here. So it's...
Frustrating.
No, actually, this is clarifying in one sense.
Easier because I don't have
for
to
me,
pinpoint
yeah.
when it happened.
Do we need to? Well, first of all, the very fact that we would try to pinpoint when it happened, we're then saying that everything has to be linear. I have to back it up into that, what is it, 44 billion years when the Big Bang happened? 44 billion years ago?
But I feel like that's what chapter 2 is kind of doing.
Yes.
So,
Yes and no, because by the time I read it about 10 more times, yes and no. You read it once? Oh, you can't. No, you can't do that. And I wouldn't read it straight through either. I'd read a paragraph and go, there's one paragraph where he says, and this is the most important thing for you to ever know. It is the substance. It is the bedrock of everything we teach. And I was like, I'll read that a few more times then, if he really believes that, you know. So
Can I ask that students, if you could talk louder, they're having a little trouble hearing you.
so then this mic doesn't work.
I'm thinking we need a new mic.
Yeah, it has to
But
be the
just stand up and
omnidirectional
talk
one.
louder.
You don't have to stand up, just talk louder. Okay, so so all material things, he says in this chapter, are made of some combination of chemical elements, carbon, oxygen, nitrogen, etc. All material things, everything, that beam, Eric, me, the rug, the chair, everything is made up of some combination of the same thing, which is why they call it ether back then. Ether, substance. It's just substance. And the order is what changes them all. What I love about that is, that means in my mind, it's all stuff. It's all this amazing substance, and depending on what order I put it in, it manifests out here. I could put it together as lack, I could put it together as prosperity, I could put it together as health, I could put it together as disease, but it's all right here. Make sense? And that's getting it from the physical world to the mental world. Okay, this substance common to all is called ether, and I love this. The space in between that connects and is all substance in form. That's the ether. The space in between it all that connects, the interconnectivity of it all. So, the question is, where did it all come from? Where did it all come from? Now, we've already talked this question out in terms of, do we even need to know where it all came from? But what is back of all of this? Your mind, here you sit, here's your body. Your body's sitting in the chair. Your mind is, I will not say sitting in your body because I don't believe that anymore, but your brain is in your body. Hopefully we're all still have our brains in our bodies. And our minds, our individual minds, are somewhere in this construct. I don't know where, it could be out there, I don't know, but, right? So, my individual mind, what is back of my individual mind? What is the substance that is moving my individual mind? What's back of all of this? So I have a little exercise for you. You guys online, you can all do this at the same time. Please, if you have a camera, put your camera on so that you can see each other. But in here, I just want you to break into twos, but you don't need to get up. Just two, two, two. You can do it together today, the husbands and wives. We're good. You can do it with Jason, actually. David, oh no, you two. Two, 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 two. Oh, we're good. We're good. You can just do it, Jason. Yes, you can do it with me. I'll do it with you. I'll do it with you. Or do it with Connie. She can sit right there and do it with you. Okay? So here's what it is. You ready? Did I give everybody? Can't do it in three. So we still have one more? Great. So then David, do it with Jason. Laurie, you can do it with Jan. Now we're good? Two, 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 two. We're great. Okay? So I'm going to give you like, I'll probably do a full 2 minutes to see how that feels. So all you're going to do is listen to one another without talking. Okay? Don't try to communicate. I don't want you to be like, I'm going to try. This is what I'm thinking. That's not it. Your job is to just listen. Each one of you, your job is to just listen. Okay? I'll let you know when to stop. And then I want each one of you to share with the other what you heard. Okay? Y'all got it?
Wait, no one says anything?
No, no one says anything. You just listen. You can look in each other's eyes. If you don't have to, this isn't a stare game either. You don't have to like stare in one another's eyes to figure this out. You know, if you look away when I talk to you, I don't always stare in your eye when I talk to you. Okay? But listen. Your job is, you're doing Dana, right? So your job is to listen to Dana. Dana's job is listen to you. Don't communicate. Don't talk. Just listen. And when I say stop, then I'm going to ask you to share with one another what you heard. Okay? Everybody clear? Clear as mud. Okay, and you guys online, just look at one another on the screen. Pick a partner if you want. You should pick partners. Who's online?
Or actually, I have 8 people online now.
Okay, Terry, you be with Lori Savage. Ray, if you would be with Joseph. There's, who else? Myrna.
Mariana.
Myrna, you'll be with Mariana, but she doesn't have a camera, so you're going to have to really listen.
Ray, who's Ray with?
I did Ray already.
Ray already?
Yep, Ray's with Joseph. Who else?
No?
That's it?
Are we non-speaking at the same time?
Non-speaking.
Jeff,
Who's
Or do we switch?
No, you're all just listening at the same time.
Oh,
All at the same time. I'm just here, like.
But making no attempt to communicate.
No,
silently.
you're just listening for what you're hearing. That's it. There is a method to this madness, by the way. Okay, are you all ready? Eric, you ready to do this? Okay, and go. Okay, I'm going to relieve you now of your pain. Okay, so now you've got 1 minute. Just tell each other what you heard. And go.
For me, Ray,
Tell them all to.
I'll just
Oh, that's good.
I'll just share with you that what I felt was just a really strong
Lori?
at the heart. And then as the time passed, I could just feel my body get more and more relaxed. That's what I experienced.
want to chat, so we're not
Yeah.
talking over everybody?
Hey, don't do it there because you shouldn't be typing. Are they typing to one another? Huh?
Talk at once.
Okay, you can answer him.
I just heard a question.
But then get that off the screen. Oh, Jeffrey wanted to know this.
That's all I heard.
I don't think so, Jeffrey.
I didn't quite hear what you
Jeffrey
said.
and Brooks could have done this to me.
I'm not sure I heard exactly what you said neither. I mean, get a little confused with all the background chatter.
Yeah, it's very hard.
Okay, y'all, have y'all communicated?
I heard questioning. Okay.
Okay, so what just happened? Besides you two back there, what just happened? But that happens. The laughter happens too. There's a reason for that. Not just that the two of you were crazy. So, Mr. Bork, what happened? What was your reaction?
Well,
What did you hear?
I can't. I heard her breathing.
Okay.
I heard some sounds from the theater. I gave up trying to read her mind. And then what I really realized is what I'm hearing more than anything else is my own thoughts. And that's,
Okay. Okay, good. No, I didn't tell anybody to read anybody's mind, did I? Okay. But I get where you would think that. Who else wants to? Yeah.
I heard recognition, it's like a recognition of, it felt like very blunt, it was very unifying to me.
Okay.
And I heard what that was weird, but I heard that.
Okay. So you felt and heard a oneness. Okay. Karen? You always seem surprised when I say your name. Karen, what? Is there another Karen? You're the only Karen in this room.
And we both kind of heard our own thoughts. Those thoughts were similar. We both had mutual discomfort and confusion, and not being sure how to listen to each other or where to look.
Okay. Where to look? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Eric, you too, the laughers.
Well, the interesting thing is we actually started connection while you were still giving instructions. So it was a very different, you were paying attention. But it was just like a really immediate and deep connection. Like there was instant like tears and like a sense of joy, love, fear. But just like this really profound connection. And then it morphed into
Laughter. That's good. Okay. Sean?
Well, I heard a lot of intensity.
From you or from Gary?
From Gary.
Okay.
Very intense. Very serious and kind of delving deep into what we're talking about here.
Okay. Did you hear that too?
I felt more of a oneness, as she was saying. More
Okay.
of God, more of an energy thing happening, more of
Okay.
ideas in a deep sense.
Okay, good. What about you guys? Drapers.
I don't know that I heard anything. I saw initial discomfort with the process, and then a gradual relaxing into it, and then a sense of what's this about? And I think that was more my own projection. I think a lot of what I saw was my own projection as well.
I was just so in my mind talking to him that I forgot he was supposed to be talking to me. Well,
I think you said I forgot he was there.
What he's saying, but then I just went back into my own.
Oh, okay. Laurie, Jan?
I felt I heard a sense of calmness and peace, and I heard God.
Jan?
When we first turned, I got this hit of joy, and then when I wanted to clear my mind, so I shut my eyes, and all I heard was drop into your heart, and then I felt this connection with her, and then almost like a radiation, like this white, and then this divine mind. All I kept hearing was oneness and oneness.
Okay. Cool. David? Jason?
Much like, I don't know if Doug said there was that process of getting into the process of the exercise. I was not surprised that two different senses of what the process was and two different ways of perceiving it. I felt a sense of total acceptance, total openness from Jason with regards to the process, and felt that it was completely anything and everything could be possible in it. And yet, at the same time, as Doug said, I'm not above accepting that that may have been my own projection of my own mind onto Jason. I'm saying this is how I'm perceiving Jason. Therefore, this is what I think Jason is feeling or projecting himself.
Okay.
may have been my projection completely. It fascinated me to hear Jason's interpretation, which was on a whole nother dimensional level than mine. I was
Well,
and again,
that's
it
not
doesn't surprise
surprising.
me at all. It doesn't surprise me, and yet it's just fascinating.
What was yours, Jason?
Uh,
Yeah, turn around. You can.
I was in a place of just stillness and just allowed, if a thought came, and I was just capturing, oh, that's interesting.
Did you hear his thoughts?
Yeah, I believe I did. I believe I felt what there was no attachment to it. It was just more of
Okay.
paying attention to, I hear him think about his wife.
Were you thinking about your wife?
At the moment, no. But she's always there with me. But again, that's Jason's answer.
Yeah, right. That was a good answer, wasn't it?
In case
she watches this later.
But I know that's Jason.
Right.
Heather's always with Jason. There's certainly no separation there. So that.
Were you thinking about Heather? No. Were you thinking about Margaret or Martha? No, none of them. Right. Okay, good. Were you thinking about James? Oh, really?
I'm sorry. I know
Okay.
that makes you sick.
Were you thinking about Rebecca? You were not thinking about Rebecca during this exercise. Great. Okay, good. I can't ask you to that because you were talking to each other. Okay, you guys online, anybody want to share anything that you felt? I'd be interested in how this worked online. Terry? Lori?
Well,
Anybody? Is anybody out there?
I'm here.
Go ahead.
I just thought it was very peaceful. I felt like I just felt a lot going on in my chest and a lot of just love and a lot of peace, and I was very relaxed through the whole process, and I just was enjoying myself. I didn't pick up on any specific thoughts. It was just feelings.
Okay. Okay, Terry?
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I lost the screen. Very peaceful. We had some background noise, so it was really hard to really connect. But I'm very connected to Lori. I just felt a lot of peace. I kept feeling it her husband. I don't know why, but it was felt very close to them as a couple.
Lori, were you thinking about Don?
No. I wasn't at the moment. I was
This is
just
the common theme tonight.
really, I was just really present.
Okay,
but,
great.
I was right in the next room, and so.
Okay, good. Ray?
$1 million.
Well, I didn't hear a lot, but what came up to me was there was questioning, and I was trying to listen to Joseph, but that's other than my own monkey mind.
Okay.
It.
So that's really, since we started with Eric here, there's a line in The Exquisite Risk by Mark Nepo where he says, he asks you to ask yourself, who just thought what you just thought? It's a very provocative question. Who just thought that? So every single one of you, whatever you were thinking, who thought that? You thought it. Where did that thought come from? I asked you to listen to just listen. Most of you heard yourself. When you listen, there are 3 stimulus to be aware of. I'm going to listen to what Eric says to me. I'm going to listen to what I'm thinking about what Eric's saying to me. And then, and this is the one that's the most important. I'm going to listen to something in me that is talking, that is really speaking. What is that? Because it's there, and it's not just what I'm thinking. There's something, you know how you're listening to something and then all of a sudden an aha comes, an awareness comes, a feeling comes. Where does that come from? What is that? Well, what Troward would suggest is that, remember, what's the title of this course? Conscious living. That's going on at all times. Most of the time, and this is just for you all to really pay attention to what just happened in this exercise, most of us only hear primarily hear what we're thinking. What we're thinking about this, what we're thinking about that. Most of us actually hear what we're thinking so much so these days that we almost don't even, that's why people cut each other off so much. They're not listening to what's coming this way or what's coming this way, intuiting itself in. They're basically just listening to themselves and therefore answering their own questions. And that's why so many people just cut one another off. But what Troward's trying to get us to understand is if we really understand that we are spirit. I'm not what spirit created. I am spirit. And spirit knows everything, knows itself, has every answer, has all the knowledge of the universe. Hard to grasp, I get it, but that's really what this chapter is about. The self-contemplation of spirit that happens on the macrocosmic scale happens on the microcosmic scale, which is you and which is me. And when we get that, now comes the next section, which is, are we willing to start being conscious of it and actually start putting it into use? So he says, when he uses the word spirit, he's actually talking about intelligence, the creative essence of life, which is you, which is me. It's not, when we do the circle, we do, notice I don't even care anymore how bad I am at this. No, I don't want to do that one. When we do the circle, we put spirit here, right? Soul, body, which is the creative process. It's also the triune nature of spirit, for those of you that were in the last class. So, but spirit is all of it, is everything, but it also shows up in the individual. So that's what he's talking about. Everything, I'll use the word God just because it's easier. Everything God can do, I can do. Or as, I was just going to say, yeah. Or as, what's his head, Irving Berlin said, anything God can do, I can do better. Spirit, soul, body. So what he's talking about in this whole chapter is what you believe about God, you have to believe about yourself. Because if you don't, you're actually not going to be in a position to use it, to absolutely consciously, purposefully use it. And so if everything you believe about God, you believe about yourself, then the question is, what do you believe about God? What do you believe about this thing called spirit, this universal mind? So what he says is that there are two attributes to spirit, two attributes to this universal mind: selection and initiative. Selection and initiative. Every single one of you just proved that. You took the initiative to do the exercise, whether you did it fully intentful or whatever that word is, or just begrudgingly because it's part of the class. You still had the initiative to do it. And you had selection to decide what you were going to listen to, believe it or not. And you selected at which point you were going to stop, and which point, I can't really hear. I'm just listening to myself. Whatever you came up with, you decided that. So the two attributes of spirit, selection, and initiative. And he says this, according to Troward, proves the polarity of universal spirit and universal substance. Now, let me just tell you, polarity doesn't necessarily mean what you think it means in this particular arrangement, because this polarity, according to Troward, is, and I want to get it exactly right, so let me just find it because I did it later. Am I? Okay. Well, I don't know where I put it, but yeah, but that's not it either. That's later when he's talking about what scientific polarity is. For him, polarity is everything moving in its order. That's how he describes polarity when we're talking about the spirit. It's a physical alignment. There it is. I'm sorry. I had it right in front of me. So according to Troward, the polarity of universal spirit and universal substance is that everything moves forward in alignment. Harmony. That's the way it works. And then he says, evolution, therefore, would be the constant polarity of spirit and substance. So, if we believe that inherent in all matter is this polarity of creativity, if we believe that inherent in everything is creation, then that would mean everything in us is creative, is constantly evolving, constantly moving. So then why, I ask you, why do we believe that as we get older, we get weaker? As we get older, we get less than. As we get older, our body falls apart. Where does that come from? Collective consciousness. Mind. We buy into it. We believe it. When you look at someone like Jack LaLanne, who I think died at 94, was it 95? And at 93, or like a year before the man died, he competed in a weightlifting competition. He refused, and his whole life was about saying, you are health at all times. It doesn't matter how old you are. Anybody ever see pictures of him at 90? Like, bizarre. I mean, this is a man I believe, and I want what he's having. And so, if we believe this, if we believe everything spirit is, I am, why would we think aging is going to be this hideous process? And that we're going to get weaker and older and more frail? And, you know, it's a good question. If we believe it, why are we not living it at that level? So, spirit this is the story. I did it earlier, so I'll just review it. Spirit contemplates itself as simply being, which is what caused everything to happen. Spirit contemplated itself as being. Now, do you, right here, right now, if you were thinking about it, are you alive? Yes? Are you being? Being is a verb. What are you being? Being alive. Thank you, Sondheim. Luckily, I'm not singing that one on Friday. Kevin is. But what are you being?
What I believe I am.
Which is?
Whatever aspect we're talking about. If I believe I'm sick, I'm being sick.
What are you being right now?
I'm being just enthralled with the wonderful presentation I'm experiencing in this class.
Well put. You get an A. A plus. Yes. Okay, so you're being stimulated. You're being whatever. David, what are you being?
It's similar to what it seems. I think it's even more than that. I think it's being whatever I'm conscious or aware of at any given moment.
Mm-hmm. What are you being? Stupid? Oh. I thought you were, what do you mean? Stupid. Thank you, and pass. No, a student. Okay, there you go. I'm being a student. You're an image of you. That's what you're being right now in this moment. I'm being a teacher. I actually don't feel that. I'm being provocative. I mean, I'm being an instrument for us to question all of this. That's what I'm being. So here's a question. How do you know whether or not you're conscious?
Because you're conscious of it. No, seriously, it's Rene Descartes. I think, therefore.
I think, therefore I am. Okay, so, but how do you know you're thinking?
Because you just thought that.
You thought what?
That. Again, it goes back and back. It's like, again, it's the nature of the experience. You're having an experience.
So you're conscious.
Conscious of having experience. That's how you know you're conscious.
Can you go through life? Can you be unconscious that you're having an experience?
No.
Liza?
Yes, when you're driving your car, you're not really
You're unconscious?
Well, I mean, technically.
Tell me what your car looks like.
Home, and I'm not really thinking about where I'm going.
Have you ever been driving and all of a sudden you're like, how did I get here? That's scary, isn't it? You're like, oh my God, I passed Hollywood. Yeah. Okay, but are you still conscious?
I mean, I'm not present, I guess, to where I'm going, but I am conscious that I'm thinking of something.
Yeah.
Here's a good example.
Go ahead.
Okay, my heart's beating.
Is it?
Yes, it is.
How do you know?
I'm alive. I could feel it if I chose to feel it.
Okay, if you chose to be conscious of it. Okay. So you're just taking that on faith that your heart is beating.
No, I'm feeling something in
Now you are.
I'm feeling something in my chest.
I can't feel my heart yet. But I take it on faith that it's beating.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I am, there is consciousness. It's not an act of act of volition, but it's my consciousness at work
Okay.
that is doing that. It's
So
also respirating me, it's everything.
So consciousness doesn't have to be conscious.
It doesn't have to be an act of volition.
You don't have to be conscious of consciousness for it to be operating as you.
Correct.
Got it. So are you conscious when you are asleep?
Yes. You're in a different state of consciousness.
Yes? Everybody agree? When you're asleep, so are you aware when you're asleep?
Yes.
She's not. No, you're not. And yet, if you're sound asleep,
How does one wake up if you're not aware?
you're a step ahead
How
of
do
me.
you remember a dream if you're not aware?
But not everybody remembers their dreams.
Right? That's true.
Not everybody maybe has trained themselves to remember their dreams. So I can go unconscious. But if you're dead asleep, if your son or your daughter, Paloma walks into the room and she goes, Mom, are you going to wake up? Something is conscious. If you were completely unconscious, they couldn't wake you up.
I'm not arguing.
Oh, no, I wasn't. I didn't think you were. I just pulled Paloma's name out of the air. So that was good. So the question is, what designates when you are conscious and when you're not conscious? What determines that? What determines, give me another piece. What determines whether you are conscious or unconscious? Someone said awareness. Your thoughts. Yourself. You waiting for me to answer it?
Yes.
Okay, attention. Your ability to pay attention. Your ability to put intention into attention. So I'm going to do a little exercise here. Eric, who's sitting right behind you? Great, okay. Corrine, who's sitting, don't look back, who's sitting to your right?
David.
Who's sitting to your left?
Doug.
Oh, you're right. Who's behind you to your left?
Or Jan.
Very good, okay. Okay, so why are you conscious of that, you think? Why are you conscious of that? Why do you know that?
I noticed it earlier.
Because you've interacted. Because he's been interacting. She's had some things to say. I watched you turn around and say. So you have put your attention somewhere, and so now you're conscious of that. You're conscious of who's behind you. Okay, so let me ask you this question. What is the color of the door, that door that you walk into the room?
No clue, I came through that door. That one could be green though. I feel like it's green, but I don't know.
Okay. Without looking, do you know the color of the door in the back of the room? Did you ever come through that door? Okay. Do you know the color of the door in the back of the room? Oh my God, how many board meetings have we had? You've walked right through that door.
I don't hold on to such minor details.
Oh, wait, did you hear that? I don't hold on to such minor details. Okay, so the reason why you don't is because your attention didn't land on it, which is exactly what you just said. I don't hold on to minor details. Just get a little closer to me. Give them a better big shot of me. Real close up. When I'm talking, I like to be a little closer, a little higher, and that works. Because I'm going to go back and watch this. Because you didn't land on it. You didn't pay attention to it. So the idea of conscious, what am I conscious of? I'm only conscious of something if I land on it, if I am aware of it. So, I can't ask you because, Colleen, what color are your socks?
Gray and black.
Are you sure?
No, because I changed them a couple times.
Okay. Do you know what color your socks are? Don't look down. Yeah. Yeah, of course, that was going to be easy. That's easy. Do you know what color your socks are? What color are they? Do you know what color your socks are? Everybody's wearing black socks. This was not, I have to be honest. I don't know what color my socks are. And I made this exercise up. Yeah, they're green. They're green, sort of speckled. Okay. So we take in so much information, but it depends on what we decide to be conscious of, whether or not we are conscious of it. You all get that? Now, this also matters in terms of what you want to create in your life. We say we want something, but do we do the work to come from here and land here? What's that? That's a mental equivalent. Can I have in my mind a definite understanding of what it is I see so that this absolutely happens in the order I want it to happen in? Or am I landing on too many other things? Or am I landing on things that are not that important? Am I spending my time on the minutia of things that are really not that important in life? Or do I bring in all the extracurricular activities of the universe telling me what should be and just allow myself to focus, I'm landing there. I say I want prosperity, but I'm landing on lack because that's what I really land on. That's what I really see. That's what he's talking about in the polarity. From this, from the conscious mind, conscious thought to the result. And the polarity is in between. Make sense? Questions? You're all very quiet.
It just, I don't know why it's the word polarity.
I know. I don't use it the way, it's not used the way he uses it, but I'm about to shift it up anyway. I'm about to change it. So, so when you are conscious of something, you're using consciousness. Now, Sean said it very well. Consciousness exists. I am consciousness. That's really what we are. That's what matter is. That's what substance is. Consciousness. So, and if we go to the macrocosm of something, consciousness at one point became conscious. And if we want to say the Big Bang, I don't really even care what it was, but consciousness became conscious. And when consciousness became conscious of what it was conscious of, it materialized as the prehistoric age, as the ice age, as the whatever. It just kept. But once it became conscious of itself, and once whatever it is came forth, consciousness is inherent in all of it, meaning you and me, so that consciousness is constantly working the same way the first one did. Conscious of itself, and as consciousness of itself, it therefore brings forth whatever it's conscious of. Make sense? Karen, you following? Yes? So this to me, this is the exciting part of this teaching. That everything that is the creative process is what I am. And I get to use it. And so what we're about the business of is, how are we using it? What are we willing to land on? What are we willing to contemplate? You know, as I said this morning on CPR, what Napoleon Hill said, what the mind of man can conceive and believe it can achieve. And that's the whole point of, are you willing to land on what you know is yours and then put the belief behind it so it manifests? So conscious living then is using consciousness for a specific purpose. Not just using it, I mean, for a specific purpose. We should be able to pick up consciousness and use it for a very specific purpose. And give me a purpose that you would want to use consciousness for. Doug?
Safety.
Okay, we should be able to use our conscious minds to always make sure that we are always in a safe space.
Yeah, the concept of attention keeps coming back to me. It's so we pay attention standing on a curb with cars going by.
Yeah. How many people are unconscious and walk into a car or walk into a pothole? I didn't read that thing in the last class, the holes thing. I walk down the street, I fall in a hole. The next day I walk down the street, I fall in the same hole. The next day I walk down the street, I see the hole. I walk around it, slip, and fall back into it. And it keeps going on and going on until it finally says, the next day I wake up, I walk down a different street. The evolution of consciousness. And they said it had it down as anonymous. It was written by Portia Nelson. And do you know who Portia Nelson is? How many of you saw the movie Sound of Music? Immediately, if you haven't, you got to see it. It's 1961. She's the one that would hold the spark plugs at the end. She was one of the nuns that was saying, "How do you solve a problem?" Like she was like the really mean one. And then at the end, she's the one that pulled the spark plugs out of the Nazis' cars. She wrote that. She was a unity what? That's hysterical. It won't ruin your enjoyment of the movie. You getting me water? Thank you. Okay, so so funny. I never thought that I'd ruin the Sound of Music. So, do y'all get that idea? What else would you use it for? Jason, what would you use your conscious mind for?
To produce a happy life.
Oh, did you read this chapter already?
Nope.
Just about to get there. What would a happy life look like to you?
Prosperous, free, creative, lots of love.
Thank you. Prosperous, free, creative, lots of love. How many people here have a happy life? How many people could be happier? Exactly, right? Okay. So what else? What else could you use your purposeful? What could you use your purposeful mind on? What could you use consciousness specifically to do?
Enjoyment of life is what I was thinking.
Okay. Anything specific?
Well, I like what Jason said.
I'll have what he's having.
Yeah. I'll have a little love.
So you want a partner. You want someone to share your life with. Can you use your conscious mind to manifest that in your life?
I'd like to think that.
Okay, Sean?
I actually had a demonstration about this that was pretty dramatic on Monday. And it was about a client problem
Okay.
that involved a lot of money
Okay.
and 8 months worth of work. And I kept thinking all weekend, I kept saying, well, when am I going to start worrying about this? Because that's what I trained myself to do, and I wasn't doing it. And then I kept thinking about what you said about what we talked about last week about the order. There's an order of the universe.
Mm-hmm.
First line of the first chapter. And as I was driving to work, it took me an hour and a half on Monday, but I kept thinking about oneness, and there's an order, perfect order. I align myself in perfect order, and get in the perfect order.
Mm-hmm.
Like you kept saying, go for basic groups like health, money, success, love, and partnership. Don't make it complicated. Don't use decimal numbers. Use that sort of thing.
I'll use whole numbers.
Whole numbers.
Right.
I kept thinking that and then lo and behold, by the time I got to work at 8:30 in the morning, it was all resolved. Out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
Things took a dramatic turn.
Do you think that?
And it was not will. I didn't will this.
Right.
Will this. I'd spent the last 2 weeks trying to will things by doing my job and manipulating events and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Not manipulating, but
No, I know what you mean.
events,
Yeah.
what I'm paid to do. Trying to control what I'm supposed to control. It wasn't working.
Right.
And this worked. And I was relaxed. That's the thing.
Would it have happened anyway?
Well, who knows?
Well, you should.
Well,
No, the reason why I say it that
here's
way.
what's interesting. These events came about that validated what I've been saying all along.
Mm-hmm.
So you could say, yeah, it would have happened anyway, but sometimes the breaks in business, like in sports or life, don't go your way. You didn't catch the breaks. In this case, I caught the breaks, but this was a result of, I believe, right thinking, right frame of mind. It starts with no worrying, relaxing, and then just thinking about the principles, just two principles. Oneness,
and there's a perfect order.
I'm gonna get into there.
So I want to look at Eric. Would that have happened anyway?
I agree with Sean. Who knows? But I mean, it's I've had enough instances like that in my life as well to feel like no, it wouldn't have.
Okay.
Your
Okay.
experience of it wouldn't have gone that way somehow if you had changed your mind.
It's an important question. Would it have happened anyway? Because if we think it would have happened anyway, then we're kind of nullifying what our experience. Now we're talking about your experience of it, less than the facts of it. To be honest.
Well, but the thing is that it's like a lot of things in the universe align, and they align around an energy.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, and that energy of what happened was in alignment with my thinking.
Mm-hmm.
It was in alignment with my not my willing, my knowing.
Okay, you also said something else about getting the breaks. How many of you believe that there are days you get the breaks and the days you don't get the breaks? I mean, is that a right? Okay, but let's be really honest with ourselves. Do we still sometimes believe that sometimes you eat the bear, sometimes the bear eats you? Just depends on where you are in the forest.
It's true, but the way you're thinking that particular day, I had a whole bunch of things go wrong one day, and I've been consciously living recently. And I found at the end of the day, instead of being upset or sad or annoyed, I was happy. I'd almost forgotten about it. And it was just all what was, how I was reacting to the day. So the day wasn't a great day, but I didn't seem to take it that way.
And that's what I'm starting to be more in alignment with. I could actually say that might have happened anyway. I could actually go with the, it might have and it might not have. However, my experience of it only happened this way because of what I did with my mind. And I could have totally screwed this up if I used my mind in a different way, and in manipulating it in any way I was trying, derailed it.
All I know is that every time I've been in a similar situation, I've been in similar situations, and I've been convinced that this is further evidence that I'm screwed and that I'm not getting the breaks. Just go ahead, show me, give me the evidence that I'm screwed. It comes.
You get screwed.
Yep.
Right. So, and so it is. And it's not even pleasant.
It's very liberating in that regard.
No. But Corinne really brought it, that's exactly it. If our only object of life is to be happy and to enjoy our life, why would we allow our minds to put us through an experience, no matter what's going on, in a way that was deterring me and detouring me away from what I say I want, which is to enjoy my life? You guys are great. That was great. That made perfect sense. So, purposeful conscious living. How often do you think you live your life that way? Purposeful conscious living. Purposeful. When you on purpose, you purposefully use your consciousness to create what you want. Jason?
I don't believe I do it all the time. I think I'm on automatic beliefs that I've obtained from other places.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You all feel that? That at times you just don't purposefully really use your mind to know. How many of you got to see Margaret's play on Sunday? So it was an interesting journey to Sunday night's performance. And honestly, it was a great exercise in purposefully living. I watched your wife really work hard to keep her consciousness where she wanted it, where she needed to be, so that she didn't drive herself even more crazy than she drove herself, which all of us did. But I can tell you this, that I had in mind exactly what was going to happen Sunday night. I always had in mind that this would be respectful, that it would give her a great understanding of what this project was. It would show itself. That's really what my intention was. I know this will show itself. And I also knew it was going to show itself well as what it was, what was under there, what was really the kernel. I could have used my conscious mind to react to the number of things. This is one of the few times I did not let my mind go haywire over the fact that this actor couldn't be here. I never had a full cast till that night. I never had a full cast. Someone was always missing, and that drives the director crazy. But you can tell yourself, no matter what, I will enjoy this process, and this process will unfold perfectly. And then it does. And you all have your own stories of when you've done that. And the question becomes, why don't we do it all the time? Why don't we really live our lives that way? Well, that's really what this class is about. Understanding conscious living from that perspective. So Troward wants us to know that the self-contemplation of spirit produces polarity, and that polarity produces manifestation in form. So what he's saying is, this is the self-contemplation of spirit. It produces a polarity, which is really the law, and then shows up in form. So he's really talking about the creative process without saying the creative process. This is the germ, this is the stuff that Ernest Holmes read and came up with his version of spirit, soul, body. He said, so he says, how it works for spirit as a whole is also how it works for each one of us individually. And what he brings up here is secondary causation. For those of you that read the chapter already, he brings up secondary causation. He's with self-contemplation of spirit as the root principle. So when you read this week, the self-contemplation of spirit is the root principle behind secondary causation. Who wants to tell me what secondary causation is based on our last class? Gary? No? Jan? You still don't get it? You'll get it after this.
I don't know if I can put it into words, but it's is if you have a belief and you manifest something, and then there's some.
Here's your belief. You're putting it into the law, right? The law is going to take that belief
And make it.
turn it into something, and then
you, I want to say you rethink it, or you
that's good. That works.
rethink it, and something else happens because of a belief, and you keep going around in circles.
Right. So secondary causation is the way we deal with the relative world. Here's the idea. This is the self-contemplation of spirit, the pure idea that goes here, the pure idea that I have what it takes to be a brilliant chemist, right? There it is. It goes here, and the law gives it to us, and a brilliant chemist. But then something happens. Something happens. You get fired out of nowhere. Not a bad thing, but to you it is. So now that belief, that manifestation here, turns into a new belief that you take all the way back up here, and now you have another belief based on what happened. Secondary to this, right? So that's secondary causation. We take it back up. And the root principle at the root of all of it is the self-contemplation. It's rethinking it, as Jen just said. Rethinking it, creating a new belief. And then that one's going to go here and create this. And then that's going to go here and create this. And then whatever else is going to happen based on that takes me back up to here. Y'all get it?
Yes, but when you do it in that type of drawing, it almost makes it seem like secondary causation is actually form informing spirit.
No, it's not. It's what I think about this. I have to take it up here to use it.
I understand that, but you say that you're the brilliant chemist, but then you get fired. So
My reaction to it.
your reaction.
My reaction to it. It causes a new belief. Oh wow! I there's uncertainty in what I said I wanted to do in my life. Now I'm taking it up here. Think about all
The
it.
form caused that. The form of being fired caused that.
My relationship to it, my reaction to it. I could also get fired and go, you know what? That's fine. There's a better job than this. That could be my reaction.
So it's the reaction.
Yeah, it's my belief that it comes out of it.
Well, and that's what the V represents, right? The science of mind symbol.
Right.
Is that it goes in both directions.
Right.
We create
Goes down,
and then we
and
react.
come back
Although
up.
when it comes back up, I don't know how it goes through soul exactly.
No, the V is actually supposed to be in the United Church, which was their symbol. It wasn't ours. It wasn't RSI, but that was supposed to be the involution of spirit, constantly bringing things through.
I just remember something in the financial freedom class where it was like we react to the form, and that's how it goes back up again.
Someone might have used. Who'd you take it with?
Mark Fear.
Yeah, he might have taught it that way. We all kind of like do our own thing with these things. Okay, so do you get secondary causation? Now do you get it?
Yes.
Come teach it. No. Okay, so that's secondary causation.
One of
So now let's just go to creative order. He talks about in this chapter creative order. And he starts with the idea spirit wants to enjoy living. So would you agree that there's something in you that just naturally wants to enjoy living? Yes? So how does that, do you think it's possible for that to be squelched in you? Where you can just no longer even care? Everybody's saying yes except Sean. Go ahead, Sean.
Yeah, I don't believe that's possible. I think that we always migrate towards the greatest level of comfort we have available.
Okay.
Even if we're in a lot of pain about something, emotional pain, that pain has a benefit.
When someone commits suicide,
Has a benefit.
which is put them out of pain,
Put them out of pain, could be revenge.
right? Whatever it is.
So
Okay.
you say it's worth ending this existence if I can take revenge on others. That's often a motive for suicide.
Yeah, it is. It is though, but it is. It's not the right one, but it is.
Yeah, it could be screwed up, but I mean, I think that for example, people who deal with addiction. I dealt with addiction years ago, and you say, "Oh my God, why would I put myself in this situation? This is so bad." You got this long laundry list of things that anyone would agree is terrible. Poor me, poor you, everyone would say. It serves a benefit because it distracts you from dealing with other problems that you perceive to be more painful or insurmountable.
Mm-hmm.
So
now I just have to deal with my addiction.
Alcoholism is, or my drug addiction. At least I'm not dealing with the fact that at my core I think I'm a loser.
Right.
Because I can't live with that. I can always blame the booze or blame the heroin. But I can't look at myself and say, no, it's you.
Right. How many people agree with Sean that you could never ever squelch that in you, that your essence is to enjoy life? Yeah. If you were to be able to do that, you would then be living in a dualistic world, those that do and those that don't. Because what Troward's trying to get us to understand is that innately, the substance that you are, spirit, you are spirit. You're not anything else. You're not all that crap. You're not the heroin addict. You're not any of you're not any of this. You're not any of your demonstrations in life. You are the believer, not the belief. Spirit is nothing more than this creative energy that wants to express, wants to, as Troward said, enjoy life. We can't really say enjoy life, but wants to constantly express and expand. That can never be diminished because it's what you are. Can you turn away from it? Yes. Which is probably what you all mean. Can you just decide, I'm not going there, but it never goes out. It can't go out, because that would just mean it was nothing. And I don't think it goes out in death. I mean, I would say that means you're dead. I don't think so, because do you ever really die? Which we'll not go into tonight. So, spirit wants to enjoy living through self-contemplation, which, by the way, is intention and belief, etc. It projects the mental equivalent. The relationship between the mental equivalent and the desire creates the expression of self-consciousness that brings the result. Now, that sounds like a lot of words, and it is. This is Troward talking about when Ernest Holmes talks about the creative process. This is Troward's take on it. So, spirit wants to enjoy everything. Here's spirit. That's its purpose in life, to enjoy, to expand, to express. Through self-contemplation, it impresses that upon the law, and the law, the polarity, the law must bring to form whatever that mental equivalent is. So think about how much work we have to do to literally stop prosperity. Think about how much work we have to do to stop enjoying our lives. If we look at it that way and really understand that if this is what we are and who we are, why is that not what we're living? Well, part of it is that we are billions and billions of years into this process. And even if you just think of mankind, you are the culmination of all of the collective consciousness of the universe, all of the ages. That's the collective consciousness. So even though you are an individual, there is the collective consciousness which you are. So what does it take to actually push all of that aside and just go to the core of who you are? Now, here's the thing. Where we are now in our historic evolution, in the divine evolution of life, I think we've just scratched the surface of understanding who we are, and in understanding who we are, starting to demand to live from that perspective. But there's so much stuff in there telling us it's something else. So what he's talking about here is, because he talks in here about evolution and that life continues to evolve. So if life's going to continue to evolve, what's your part in evolution? What do you think? Do you know? What's your part in evolution? If life's just going to evolve, what's your part in evolution? There's a guy in front of our building, a homeless man. I think he's like 30. His name is John. And I was fascinated yesterday because he's always there, sitting right in front of my tree. And when I have to water, I have to move him because he's going to get soaking wet. Right, which yesterday I thought I could do it without wetting him, and I still wet him. Yeah, but I was able to stand and talk to him while I was watering. And I asked him, I said, so when did you start living on the streets? And he said, well, at 17, my parents threw me out of the house and said, it's all up to you now. And they went on they took a car and they drove and they lived on the streets. And he said, so, and then they died. And he said, so now I've been on the streets. I said, do you like it? He goes, oh yeah. It's the only way. It's my life. I love it. He said, I love it. I meet great people. I said, and what about, where do you live? I mean, I know you live on the streets. He goes, oh, well, we have a whole community right down here. And they do, that live right off of the LA River. He says, oh yeah, I have my own place. And it was fascinating to talk to this guy. And I said, well, where do you bathe? Where do you, he goes, oh, I just get on the bus, go down to the beach and jump in the ocean. And I said, okay. And then do you have to get a bus back here? He goes, no, then I just stay on the beach for. And as he's telling me this whole thing, and I'm thinking about this there's that in us that just wants to enjoy life. Who am I to tell him that he should be enjoying life at my level? Or that he should be enjoying life the way I would enjoy life? At one point I looked down and his feet were just corroded. And I said, do you have shoes? He goes, shoes hurt my feet. And I was like, well, how painful is that? He says, yeah, it's pretty painful. And so I asked him what size shoe he took. I said, well, he says, don't get me any shoes. I won't wear them. It's too painful. But part of that's because of what he's done to his feet. And I said to him, I said, well, don't you think you'd be happier if you were someplace where you could take better care of your body and all? And he said, no, I don't think I'd be any happier. And he really believed that. I thought to myself, I would be, I couldn't even fathom that lifestyle. And then I picked up a friend of ours at the airport, and he is now blind, yet he's one of the greatest artists. He's in the Smithsonian, great artist. Anybody who's been to my house, the naked mesh of Kevin and I, he did that. And he was saying to me, because he now lives in Cambodia in a hut. And I said something about poverty-stricken. And he just stopped me. He said, what Americans think of as poverty-stricken really doesn't work for me, because they think poverty-stricken means that we don't have the things that we should have, except that we're much happier than most of the people who have what they all have. He said, everybody in Cambodia, the point of our life is, do we have enough food? Do we have a nice place to live? And a nice place to live is a hut. Do we have everything we need? And the answer is yes, and we love our life. He said, I love living in Cambodia 6 months out of the year. I go and I do the fields, and he said, and I really had to think to myself, okay, so if our purpose is to enjoy life, when did we start turning it into enjoy life this way? So one of the things I'm going to ask you to do this week is to just ask yourself, what does it take for you to enjoy life? And is your enjoyment of life relegated on something that someone told you you had to live life this way or else you weren't successful or you weren't whatever? Because if we're going to say our purpose is to enjoy life, and so the relationship between the mental equivalent and the desire creates the expression of self-consciousness that brings the result. Let me say that again. The relationship between the mental equivalent, so here's the mental equivalent up here. Your job is to enjoy life. What does that look like to you? What does it look like? What does it mean to enjoy life? Your mental equivalent will show up down here. Now, the mental equivalent is also connected to everything you think about what you think. Like we talked about when you did the exercise earlier, you thought what you were thinking, and then you thought about what you thought about what you were thinking. So here's my mental equivalent of, I want to enjoy life. And enjoying life for me, Corrine, what is enjoying life to you? What does that look like? What's the mental equivalent? What is enjoying life? What would make you just so, what do you think would make you just be ecstatic about life?
Living at the beach.
Okay, great. So, why don't you live at the beach?
Waiting for retirement.
Waiting for retirement. Okay, waiting for the time to do it. And yet you already know that that would make you so incredibly happy, right? Okay, so here's what I know would make me enjoy life, and yet in there is something that stops it from happening right now. And it's going to happen, right? Eventually, it'll happen. So that's something to really look at in your life. If you're gonna live consciously, then you have to be willing to not only know what makes you enjoy life, but you have to be clear on what's in there with it, not letting it happen. Yes. The relationship between the mental equivalent and the desire creates the expression of self-consciousness that brings the result. So the relationship between the mental equivalent, here's the mental equivalent. I want to live at the beach. I'm sorry, that's the desire. I want to live at the beach. The mental equivalent is everything that she thinks about what it's going to be like to live at the beach. But then there's the self-consciousness. Creates the contemplation, the self-conscious, that which you are conscious of, which is, it's not time yet. We need to make sure we have our ducks in a row so that we can retire to the beach or whatever that looks like. I'm making this up. I don't really know. Which part?
Expression of self.
The relationship between the mental equivalent and the desire creates the expression of self-consciousness that brings the result. So what's really bringing the result? This is where people get confused. They think, but I have the mental equivalent. Corrine saying, I have the mental equivalent. I know I want to live at the beach. Great. Move to the beach. Well, I have to wait till ... That's what's really in this in self-consciousness. So the mental equivalent may be here, but mental equivalents don't just show up in form if they're not fully 100% believed in, and nothing else is stopping me. Because the truth is, if I 100% had the mental equivalent of living at the beach, I would move to the beach if I wanted to move to the beach. I don't really want to move to the beach, but where's yours? What is your desire? And what is your desire manifesting in terms of a mental equivalent? And what in your conscious mind, when you are the self-contemplating mind that you are, what's in there with it? So he says at the end of this chapter, life is continuing to evolve. And then a quote, an actual quote from the chapter, he says, we want something more perfect than we have reached, than what we have reached. We want something more perfect than what we have reached. And here's the thing about this, and here's where he's going to. Because the last sentence in the whole chapter 2 is, what is the divine ideal like? The divine ideal meaning the perfection of life. What is the divine ideal like? If you are the divine ideal, what is it like? We should be able to say, this is what I want, and therefore this is what I'm doing. And just think about this. Wouldn't it be great if we actually got this so clearly that when we actually had a desire and said, no, this is what I want, we just said yes to it and then allowed it to evolve. Yes, this is what I want. This is what I'm going to do. This is what I do. And allow it to evolve. It doesn't mean as life evolves that I may not get there and say, and now, I remember when I actually got to star on Broadway. That was it for me. I will star on Broadway. And I did by the time I was 25. I will star on Broadway. And when I got there, I was like, this really sucks. I'm not really happy being here. I don't enjoy it. It's not 8 shows a week. I'm not enjoying this. It was shocking to me. It was really shocking. So I was able to say, and now this is what I want. And that's the way it works. We get to do that. But I think too often we put so much into here with that mental equivalent. This is what I want. But, yeah, but, and then there's this, there's that.
That just goes back to secondary causation.
Pretty much. Well, secondary causation means I react to.
The response of, finally got it.
Yes, mine was, yes. And you know what that did to me? I got it. I got what I wanted. Horrible experience. Looking back, I can say it was a very great experience, but at the time, horrible experience. That's how I felt about it. I never got back there. The initial desire of wanting to be on Broadway never came back to me. Now I have it, and I will, because I've decided that I will, whether it's directing a musical or starring in my own play. Who cares? Who knows? So that response took a whole nother, and I had an amazing career. I was an A-list musical actor and play actor. You know, I had a great career, but I never got back to there because I had already made a decision. There's my answer. There's my reaction to secondary causation, and therefore it caused that. But yeah, David?
Does race thought have a play part in this?
Mm-hmm. To the degree that you let it.
To the degree that you're aware of it.
A, and then to the degree that you allow it to. Most people aren't even aware that race thought is affecting them. I would say most people that don't even bother trying to do what they want to do is because they just feel that it's not going to happen. Families that say, we never get the breaks like my family does, or you can't do that. How many times do you hear people like, you'll never do that? I mean, come on, why do you think you should be able to do that? Of all the, you know how many people are trying to do that? That's race thought. And it just comes in and kind of derails you. So, what is the divine ideal? What I want you to do this week is read chapter 2, the self-contemplation of spirit, the chapter I just went over. Read chapter 2, and I would like you to write me a thought paper. That's a short little paper. It's not a long diatribe, just a short little paper, and it's going to be on your realizations from this chapter in conjunction with what we spoke of tonight. So, with everything that was spoken of tonight, when you read the chapter again, a thought paper means there's some salient point that hits you about what you read. Write about it. Good, bad, or indifferent. Even if you go, I read this pissed me off, and I don't agree with it. That's fine. That's a thought paper. That's your thought, and you write a little something on it. Okay? And we are going to use them next week, so do write it.
We have class next week?
Not next week. Yeah, you're not here just because it's Thanksgiving? No. No, the following week. You have 2 weeks to write a thought paper.
We're gonna have two thoughts.
Yeah. Any questions?
You also said before something about this, what does it take for me to enjoy life? Thing?
Yes.
Is that a separate?
Yeah, just write it out for yourself.
That's separate from.
Yeah. Not what does it take for me to enjoy life? What does enjoying life look like? What does it look like for me to really enjoy my life? And I really mean enjoy your life 100%. Like what would have to happen in my life for me to enjoy my life 100%? It'll be very interesting to see what answers you come up with.
So
What would have to happen? Put it in there with the, what would it like to, no, the thought paper is a different thing. This is just, what does it mean? What would it look like for me to enjoy my life? Really enjoy my life? Yeah, we'll just have the answer. You know, don't punt. Like, write it out. It's great to write things out like this, because then you look at it and you go, wow, is that really what I mean? Okay, thoughts? Any questions? Any questions online to you folks? Nope, you're all good. Okay, so I'm going to invite you to take a deep breath. There is this substance, this intuitive, creative life force, this energy. It is everywhere. It is what everything is made of. It's what I am made of. It's who and what I am. Inherent in this substance is this divine urge to always be expanding and enjoying life, to always be receiving and expressing simultaneously this love, this creativity. And in this space, in this understanding of who and what I am, I know this for the entire universe. And so I know it for every single person in this room, every person online. I know that this life force, this energy is moving, is evolving, is growing, expanding as me, as every single one of us. And so with great gratitude, with a joyous heart, with an open mind and a receptive soul, I allow this energy, this identity that I am, to be itself. And I know that this class brought a lot up for me, a lot up for many of us. And right now, in this moment, as we all prepare to leave this room, to go back into our lives, to go home, to conclude our day, what I know and what I intend for each and every one of us is a surrender to and an allowance of this thing that we know we are, to be itself through each of us, to be as each one of us. And in that allowance, in that receptivity, everything unfolds, everything evolves, everything falls perfectly into place. We come from that first principle of harmony. Everything beautifully dances around itself. And the rhythm of my life is one of harmony and a vibrant, powerful beat that I am always in lockstep with. And I know this for me. I know this for every single one of us. And so I just say thank you. Thank you for this time. Thank you for this knowing. Thank you for this listening. Thank you for this hearing. And I just step out of the way and let it continue to be what it always is, and that is this oneness, knowing itself as me, as each of us. And so I say thank you. I release my word, letting it be, letting it do, letting it expand. As together we all say, and so it is. Have a great rest of your evening, everyone. Goodbye to everybody online. So Eric, Monday night.
Yes.
That'll be fun.
Yeah.
Well, Monday afternoonish, afternoon night. Well, it's like 4 o'clock.
Is that what you're coming?
As soon as we pick
Oh,
up the
'cause you're gonna
kids.
come through.